Nearly half of the world's population lives in cities today. Cities also contribute 75% of the world's GDP. Cities are also sites where ordinary citizens negotiate their right to everyday life. Climate change is complicating how these negotiations take place. Thinking about fragility is not only vis-a-vis governance systems, but also in terms of bodies themselves. Fragile bodies, bodies that don't have access to affordable healthcare, or who don't have access to the kinds of infrastructures that could facilitate women's and men's adaptive capacities. Karachi has long-standing histories of non-conflict and urban violence, related, for instance, to issues of land displacement, political violence, and so forth. We selected 2 study sites consisting of 2 communities whose homes are situated in close proximity to the city's degraded ecologies, typically the drainage channels. In both the contexts of these sites, we see issues of vulnerability and violence, whether visible or invisible, unfold in very complex ways and in gender terms.
Our work in these communities shows that men and women experience a wide range of risks associated with climate-induced events such as floods, heat waves, and eviction drives.
Evictions currently in Karachi exemplify the ongoing dynamics of state violence that are in turn exacerbating the effects of climate change. Evictions are in fact a key driver of exacerbating or compounding the effects. After the eviction drives, says Razia, we have hardly slept at night. Both my husband and I have spent nights acting as security guards. During the demolitions, the main entrance and the front wall of her house became partially damaged. Without a boundary wall and a gate, she feels continually at risk because she has 2 young daughters.
During monsoon season, people in low-income settlements with proximity to Nala often get drainage overflows into their homes, which poses serious threats to these communities.
Insecure tenure meant that we are exposed to the other kinds of violence, such as psychological and physical violence. And if the victim is, for example, a woman, then the insecurities are multiplied, are doubled and tripled due to the social norms of care, ethics, safeguarding, and the sacrifice. People in those communities rely more on their social connections and social community organizations for the support.
So our project shows that the relationship between climate change impacts and social and physical infrastructures is a very important one. Above all, thinking about vulnerability as something that is not static, but deeply dynamic, and the resulting risks that arise from these dynamic forms of vulnerability themselves keep changing in terms of different contexts or temporal contexts.
COP26 is seeking big increases in adaptation finance, particularly for low and middle income countries. But I think our project is flagging that we need to pay much stronger attention to how that is spent, how that is embedded in local contexts, and how that is brought together with ongoing processes of development and financing development.